WSers, welcome to another episode of Sitting with Shireen. Joining us on this episode is, his official name is the Reverend Dr. Tyronne J. Perpall, but I call him Rev, and he has most recently become a very important part of my life. He's my boss, really, and it's so good to be sitting here with my boss this evening. But other than that, he is a young man who I have grown to admire, even more so in the past few months, being able to work with him closely, and then of course watching him share his life through the Word of God has just completely transformed who I knew Tyronne to be a few years ago. It's so good to see him to come to this point, and to of course be a part of that. We are going to be talking for a very short while on something that he said very recently. Well, first off, let me welcome you to the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome
good to be here.
It's so good to have you sitting with us, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule. I'm so happy that you said yes. I'm so happy that you said yes. So let's get to why we are sitting here today. So Rev, in June, I think it was 2025, it was my church's youth anniversary, and you were climaxing the celebrations, and in your sermon you said something that when you said it I was like, I had to take a note. And the words that you shared were, listen to the voices of wisdom. You didn't say it just then. I don't know if you noticed, but during your first youth convention as the National Youth Director, as you closed, after praying for so many young people who were there, you said the same words. And I was like, I don't know if Rev noticed it, but he obviously shared one of the secrets to his success today. Did you say that with intention, Rev, or how did that go?
It is intentional. It is one of the things that I think is essential for this generation to hear, and the generation that will come to hear. And that is why I say it so often, and because it's true. It is at the heart of that success. Of course, there's God, but that thing right there, that listening to the voices of wisdom, Shireen, it is critical.
It's almost as though God does his part, but there is something that we have to do. It's an action word. To listen is to act in some sort. And so it's us, of course, doing what we have to do in order for us to receive the benefits and, allow God to do what it is that he has to do. Now, what I want to ask you, Rev, at the beginning, our first question is going to be, when you say listen, what do you mean by the word listen? And then go on and share with us, what do you mean when you say exactly, listen to the voices of wisdom?
Okay, so when I say listen, when you say listen, it goes beyond just hearing.
Yeah.
All right? It now requires you not only to hear, but to act on what you are hearing. And so when I say listen to the voices of wisdom, I'm not saying just say, okay, yeah, I hear you. But I'm saying go a bit beyond that. Now you need to follow or act on what you're hearing. And the thing about it is that at the time that I heard, or at the time that I started to hear these voices of wisdom, I always tell people I grew up around the pastor's council, all right? The elders of the church.
Yeah.
So these men, of course, are much older than me. Some of them were older than my dad. But, men's fellowship was strong at that time, and we were always together. I feel like every weekend we were together. My dad would pick up Elder James Williams. We call him Brother Jim for short. That was like every Saturday thing. So these conversations are going, and I'm hearing them say things. I'm hearing them talk about church. I'm hearing them talk about life. And at the time they're saying it's foreign to me, because none of what you're saying, I mean, maybe that time will come. That time is here now.
Yes. Wow.
And the things that I hear them say, and they would always say, because they were never really ministers, but they would always say, if I was this, then I would do it this way or that way. And so when I reflect on some of the conversations that I hear and some of the things, you know, from that time, it shaped who I ultimately became.
Yes.
Because my young people, they tell me, say, Rev, you got to dress a little younger, or you sound so old, or you sound, but that is because that was literally, I grew up surrounded by those voices. And so even now when I go in decision making,
yes, that's it.
when I go to make decisions, and it's so profound that I'm giving, you know, Brother Jim this big shout out. You know, he died in 2009, but he was a calm fella. When I say calm, I mean, you know, you could be radical, right? You could be radical with how you doing things, but he was a smooth fella. Like, he was calm, had this his soft voice and everything like that. And the way he would handle situations in church, dealing with conflict, you would always look for him and people like Elder Clarence Musgrove. They were smooth fellas, you know. Now, if you know my dad, you know he's, you know, he hyper, right? But those fellas, their way of handling things and situations in the church, when they speak, people would listen to them. And that is something that I learned in leadership, is not to be rough or aggressive with your approach or the authority that you're given, but to always take a step back, be calm, be personable. Those are things that I learned from these guys that in 2025 is essential for how I'm operating. National Youth Director, Associate Pastor at Burnett Road. Now all of it is spilling back in. So when I say listen to the voices of wisdom, it goes beyond just hearing or seeing what was done, but now you have to act on it. You got to reflect on it. How did they handle that? Why did they handle it that way? You know, and so that's what I mean when I say listen to the voices of wisdom. Yeah.
You describe some of the men who I would say that you considered wise, right? Does wisdom have a look? I know we can't give it a not figurative, but we can't give it an actual physical look. But how do we know when it's wisdom?
You know, Shireen, wisdom has no look.
Okay.
I will say that. Wisdom is given by God, and God can choose, you know, whom he decides to deposit that wisdom to and ultimately get it through. I always reflect on Solomon's ask, I call it. You know, Solomon could have asked for anything, but Solomon asked for wisdom. You know, it's given by God, and the thing about it is wisdom. It's to understand what is wisdom and how it is. You need God. That is God given, and so God has to be the one to. Something has to be inside you that connects with the voice that is wise. And so I recount Solomon's, you know, one of his infamous moments. The mother rolls over her child, and Solomon is now, you know, in court, and he has the two mothers there. What Solomon says, although it's like, okay, let's cut the baby in half, right?
Seems harsh.
Although some may look at that and say, that's a very silly remark for Solomon to make. That was wisdom.
Yes.
Because Solomon knew that if this your child, you're not going to let me saw this in half. Now, one mother, who is obviously not the mother of the child, says, okay, I down with that. Let's do that, right? The lady that is the mother says, she could keep it. Once the child stays alive, I'm okay. One of those ladies connected with the wisdom that was said. And the other said, she didn't connect with it. It's because wisdom, something has to be on the inside of you. You understand?
Yes, I see
so
you.
Because that was that mother's child, that was resting on it. This child has to live. That connects with the voice of wisdom. She saw what Solomon was doing, all right? So let's identify who the mother is. So she could say, hey, let's saw it in half. I'll be happy too. She say, no. I rather my child live. So it has to connect with something in your spirit. And when you are in what I would call, let's say, a toxic situation, or in other words, when something is trying to come off as wisdom and it is not wisdom, your spirit can't settle.
Okay.
When you hear wisdom, when wisdom speaks, it's like the voice of
Yeah.
God speaking.
Yes, yeah.
There's no confusion to it. All right? But when something, you know, some people, they try to play wise, or they try to give you counsel, or they try to say X, Y, and Z, but it ain't wisdom.
Yeah.
It's just personal preference.
Yes, gotcha.
You're not calm.
Yeah.
Your spirit ain't said, you know, they
Unsettling.
say that,
Yeah,
but man,
Something sitting with me.
something right
Something,
about that.
yeah.
You know, something is confused. It's contrary. It's moving you beyond who you are.
Yes, yes.
It's causing you to compromise. You know the voice of wisdom. It's given by God, so it's like the voice of God, and there should be no confusion surrounding wisdom. And so that is what I would say has been, and even in this season of my life and in the past few years, I have relied heavily on God to tell me, God, what is this, the voice of wisdom speaking? Is this the right atmosphere that I'm sitting in? Is this the right voice that I'm listening to that will propel me in this season? Or am I just listening to this voice because this is the voice that I'm told I'm supposed to listen to? This voice, or is this where you want me to be seated? And you'll know sometimes you outgrow voices.
Yes. Oh, come on.
All right?
Rev, please expand on that.
Yes. Sometimes you will outgrow voices to read. Sometimes some voices, they are meant for you for a particular season.
Wow, yes, okay.
And that season expires.
Yes.
All right? And oftentimes when that season expires, it is because something in you has bloomed beyond what that voice can accommodate. Some people, they can counsel you, they can coach you on when you are at a particular level.
So true, yeah.
All right? But when God begins to enlarge your territory, when God begins to take you up, when God begins to move you further, the voice now goes from being wisdom now to almost being a stumbling block.
Okay, I got you.
You know, and I don't think we talk about that too often, because I think it's almost like touchy. Because someone say, well, oh, you bigger than me now.
You switch on me.
You switch. You bigger than me now. But sometimes the voice becomes contaminated by, you know, just how it's looking at you, how it's perceiving you, you know. It's saying, oh, well, you think you better than But when God takes you up another level, sometimes he has to change the voice that is speaking to you, because the person that will speak to you for that season is better able to speak clearly, uncontaminated, I would say, as it relates to you. So the voice of wisdom, it may change from season to season. All right, and I think that's something that has to become more generally acceptable. All right,
agreed.
Is that I may not confide, or I may not listen to or it may be more difficult for me to discuss something with you, or request your counsel for something at this particular season in my life, because your voice has done what it can do for me.
And,
all right,
and thank you. I appreciate you for that.
Yes, and I appreciate, and that will never change. You will always get the honor. But something changes. All right,
agreed.
And I think, whether that is in academics, I've experienced that in academics.
Okay, thank you for going there. I was going to ask that.
Yeah, I've experienced that in academics. I've experienced that in church. All right, I mean, I'm still fresh newbie on the block in the hospital, but so not quite there yet. But I'm sure that, I mean, you know, you just have to know when your season is God will show you. Listen, that's the way to go. Stay from that way, because remember, people are people.
Yet they are.
People are people.
That is so true.
And so if something starts to, there's some things that start to creep in with people when God takes you up. Jealousy starts to creep in. Some people just don't like what God is doing.
You are hitting them.
God is. Some people just don't like what God is doing in your life.
It's true.
And it's sad to say, but it is true. And oftentimes, we have to be careful, and not just as receivers of wisdom, but as people that are imparting wisdom too. That we are not allowing ourselves and what we tell people to be contaminated by bias, or contaminated by jealousy. We're not allowing our wisdom to come from those places, but we are giving. Like wisdom is saying, you say to me, listen here, Rev, I want to do X, Y, and Z in ministry. And I say to you, you know what? Go ahead and do it. If God has called you to do it, not saying, oh, well, Shireen is going to try to become bigger than me, or Shireen is going to try to become better than me, because what is meant for you will always be for you.
That's one thing.
And it doesn't matter if God got to use me, or if God got to use the pot cake on the side of the road to get this mission accomplished. Is with or without you,
so true.
It will get done.
Rev, you touched on so many things, and a lot of what you said were actually what I was about to ask you. But I want to go back to when you spoke about the older men that you were around when you were younger. I remember my dad always used to say to me, Shireen, you have selective listening. How do we be careful not to block out what we should be hearing and listening to as young people? Well, I was younger then, and a lot of, you mentioned it, a lot of what they were saying at the time seemed to be irrelevant. How are we careful not to block out by our own account things that are actually important to us and that may become important to us later down in the years?
One of the things about listening is you have to be open.
Yeah.
To what is being said.
Yeah.
Even if you may not agree at the time that it's being said, or you say, it's not for me. You have to be open to it. Try to remember it. All right? I will tell you, my pastor, immediate past pastor, Reverend Eileen Johnson, would say some things. She began pastoring. She was, this was her first time pastoring,
Yes.
not in ministry, but first time pastoring. So I was grateful to be able to see her, navigate
Yes.
what that was, right? At the time she's navigating it, in my head, I'm thinking, if I become a pastor, it's like the next 20, 30 years, right? So, but I watched that process.
Yeah.
I watched the changing scenes of that process. Of course, because at that time I was a little bit older, so I had a little, I was able to remember a little more. And now walking into leadership, she would always make a remark. She would say, "No, you can't do it like that."
Okay.
Right? That was the remark there. You can't do it like that. And me, just a radical background. I would just do this and that and this and the next thing. And now here it is in 2025, walking into the season that now sees me dealing with
Yes.
people on that level
Yeah.
now.
Full circle.
National Youth Director, full circle. Now associate pastor. You now find yourself sitting in some of those same positions.
Yes.
And while at the time I may say, boy, you know what, I would have done that a little different, or that's not the way I would do it, or that's not my... You get to understand why by watching. When Elijah said to Elisha, if you see me,
Yes. When I go.
right? If you witness that,
Yeah.
all right? So a part of wisdom is not just in the listening too,
Yes.
but is in the watching and observing. He said, if you see me when I go,
That's so true.
that's how this double portion, not because you were around at the
Yes.
time,
Yeah.
but if you see when God takes me up, why did you have to witness that? Because I'm sure for the ministry of Elisha, that moment was a central part of what kept him going. I saw I saw these chariots come to, if ain't nothing else held him in the time of difficulty, I saw those chariots, and so we have to be open to see everything.
So true. Wow.
To remember it, all right? Even if you don't agree with it at that time, remember it. Because a time is coming, I will tell you.
Yes, sir.
When you can look back and say, boy, I see why. I see why, You can't do it like that because oftentimes too, we are not exactly in the time when, we're not the ones sitting in the hot seat sometimes.
Okay.
Right? But your time for the hot seat will
It's
come.
coming.
All right? It'll
It's
surely
coming,
come.
Rev, yeah.
And you have to make sure that you have experienced enough. You have seen enough. All right? You've witnessed the chariot. You've witnessed that. So that when you get there, all right, you say, boy, I could pull from that bag. I remember how that situation was handled. I remember how they chose to go about that, right? Even if you don't agree at the time. So the thing is, you don't have to block everything else. Say, you don't have to block it, all right? Remember it, all right? Because the time is coming when you can pull from that, you know? So you don't have to take it all in and say, yes, yes, yes. You ain't gonna have those yes, yes, yes moments all the time.
You're right, that's very true.
But if you see it, if you witness it, and you remember it, and you say, boy, you know, I wonder why. Even if you have the conversation, say, go beyond just saying, okay, I hear you. Say, why did you choose to, you know, what is your rationale?
Yes.
All right, for doing it this way. What is your rationale for, you know, going about it that way? And it helps you to go beyond, you know, just shutting things down because it does not sound right at the on. Say why. The common question, if something is not going right in medicine or something is going on in the body and we don't understand it, our question is, why? When we're trying to get that hard diagnosis, our question is, why is this not? Consider all of the parts at play. Sometimes we only see through, you know, a certain lens. We don't see everything. So we have to ask ourselves, you know, we have to go, when we're listening to the voices of wisdom, and we have to ask them, why? Why did you choose to? And that helps you block out that selection process. You take everything in, internalize it, because you're going to have to draw from it. That's why David said, I got to hide this word in here.
Hide it down.
I got to hide it, all right? So that I don't sin, so that when the time comes, I'm able to pull it out. And that's what we have to do with wisdom too. Sometimes we just gotta hide it, hide it in your heart, hide those moments in your heart, so that when the time comes, you're able to pull from it.
So listening so far is not just hearing, it's being open, and it's also hiding some things deep down, and that gives me a whole new revelation on the importance of listening. You mentioned that listening has a lot to do with being open. And one of my questions were actually, what does the air have to do with the heart? How does listening and the heart connect? Is there a connection between listening and the heart? And if there is or not, how so or how not?
So I will tell you, the heart, or what we often call the heart.
That's it.
Some people think about, you know, the heart that's in your chest.
Yes.
And, you know, but the heart of man, all right, has gates.
Yes.
The eyes are one of those gates. And obviously the air represents one of those gates. I will tell you that words, and then the Bible says death and life are in the power of the tongue, is that words command a lot of things.
Okay. Wow.
All right. And so what is said, all right, or what you hear makes connection to the heart of you.
Yeah. Wow.
Some of us, we feel some type of way about some people because they have said some things. All right.
Yeah, go there.
That have struck the heart of us.
Yes.
And so there is a connection between what we hear and the heart, because guess what? Someone could do a whole bunch of talking. When they say something that connects with the heart of you, you remember.
Yes.
So you started this show by saying, Rev, you said something in June. I mean, for some people probably didn't even remember what I said in June, but it struck the heart of you. So
awesome.
when things are said,
that's good,
that strike the heart of you, you remember it.
Yeah.
But that's why David says, you know what, create me a clean heart. Get this heart clean, because
that's it.
The cleaner this heart is, the more wisdom is able. See, wisdom is God-given.
Yes.
So the more this heart is towards God, the more wisdom will connect with me.
Okay.
So the more, that's why the Bible says, be slow to anger. Be slow, all right? Because you got to get your heart in the position where it can connect with the wisdom. Wisdom is spewing out every day. And like I said, it's not just think about the ants that teach us something so wise.
The other day.
Yes, think about the ants. I mean, they be storing up and they doing the same thing that Joseph was trying to get done in Egypt. Let's store these stuff up. That they was around when he was around. They're not speaking, right? But The wisdom we learned from them, the wisdom I could preach a whole sermon about the ants,
yes.
which is you need to save for a rainy
Yes.
day, which is you need to put something up, you need to store something. It's that wisdom is all around us. But when your heart is conditioned
Yes.
to receive that level of wisdom, that's when things start to shape up. That's when you're able to hear it more. And that is also when you are able to detect what is wisdom from what ain't wisdom.
Okay.
When that heart is conditioned. So there is a connection between what you hear and your heart.
Yes.
And it's often that connection that reveals the authenticity of the wisdom, or whether that is just not wisdom at all.
Okay. Wow. This, my friend, is what we call some good conversation. Tune in on Tuesday, January 23rd for the conclusion of our topic, Listen to the Voices of Wisdom, with Reverend Dr. Tyronne Perpall Jr. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification for upcoming episodes. See you soon.